Sentire Media.
Welcome to the Stop Italian Sounding podcast, uncovering authentic Italian food. I'm your host, Robert Campana, and join me as we delve into the rich heritage of genuine Italian food, exploring its legends, history, and traditions. Through important tips and insightful interviews with industry professionals, you'll gain a deeper understanding of authentic Italian food. Welcome back, everyone, to the Stop Italian Sounding show, uncovering authentic Italian food. So today we have my friend Daniele Sfara back, and we're going to dive into a dish that's loved by millions of people, not just in Italy, but around the world. And we're talking about my favorite food, pasta. And with different shapes and sauces, pasta has become a staple in kitchens in Italy and many kitchens around the world, especially in places that have large Italian communities, such as the Italian American community, the Italian Canadian community, and ones in other countries as well. But did you know that there is actually a special day dedicated entirely to this food? That's right. Every year on October 25th, food lovers celebrate World Pasta Day. And today we're going to highlight some of the pasta's cultural significance and why it's more than just a simple and delicious dish. So Daniela, thank you so much for coming back on the show. And I know you're happy to be talking about a food that you're pretty passionate about as well, correct?
Yes, absolutely. But before that, I'm so happy you called me friend. We've escalated from guest to friend.
Yes, yes. You're not just a simple guest anymore. You're a friend. Absolutely. And again, thank you for coming on the show. And we talk pasta today. So first, I just want to kind of debunk a myth when it comes to the origin of pasta.
Go for it.
So many people relate it to, the Marco Polo theory, where I think it was I want to say 13th century, don't quote me, went east to China and brought back noodles or pasta, if you will. But instead, I'd like to debunk that and talk about the Sicilian quote unquote theory, which includes pasta being evolved in the 9th century by the Arabs and the Arab influence, because we know Sicily was under Arab influence for a long time. And in fact, it was indeed the Arabs that introduced techniques for drying pasta, which made it easier to store and, of course, to transport. And that was crucial for the pasta to spread across Italy and beyond. And in fact, if I'm not mistaken, the Arabs called it itrilla. And in a local Sicilian dialect, I forget specifically where in Sicily, there is a pasta still called with that name, called trilla.
In
And
Trabbia.
where is it?
Trabbia.
Ah, okay. There you go. That
Yeah.
I didn't know. So the theory is that pasta originated in Sicily. What are your thoughts?
I agree. I mean, maybe because we're both biased, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but you're right, and there's so many interesting facts about it, and even going to your point where you're saying for travel and for movement, the originating pasta that was prepared and made was short pasta to make it easy for transport. So I'll cut the conversation a little bit with, similar to bread, where stale bread was given to the fishermen to carry very easily. And so they could essentially make what we in today's modern world call friselle. The fishermen would actually take the bread over the boat and just dunk it into the seawater to give it flavor, and they had sustenance. Pasta was the same. It was easy to transport if it was short pasta. And so, yeah, I absolutely believe that it was in Sicily. And I do agree with you, because pasta was already familiar and known throughout Italy when Marco Polo came back. Was it just right before 13? So it was 1295 or ish. And yeah, so it was already known. And we had
And it's
no choice.
it's become, fast forward all the centuries to now, such a universal and loved dish. So what are your thoughts? Why has it become such a universal dish? Why is it so loved? Why is it so I mean, it's everywhere.
Well, I think, part of the reason is that, for one, I mean, with over an absurd number, over 300 different types of pasta shapes, it's easy for someone to, whether you talk about traditional or modern cuisine, get creative, to be inventive and innovative with making a dish. because now you have over 300 varieties of creativity. So think of it as
It is.
300 colors, 300 pencils,
And they
300
each have
crayons.
their own specific name as well. It's not
They
just we're
do.
having pasta tonight, we're having
Right.
penne, we're having spaghetti, cavatelli,
That's right. And then
whatever
break
that
it,
name is.
yeah. And then break it down even further. We've got classifications of with certain pasta, not all of it. You've got, maybe it's liscia. So you've got your corta, your lunga, so your short pasta, your long pasta. And then you've got your liscia and your rigata, but then you've also got almost the in between where it's ruvida, which is that very rough, almost artisan homemade look, right?
Right.
And then the different flours. And
Can we
so
go
it's
can we go
great.
back to the pasta liscia, tipo penne
Yes.
lisce, penne rigate? What are your
Yes.
thoughts? Pasta liscia, pasta rigata con le rigate, le righe?
So it's funny because okay, so this is a very lengthy conversation. I think we need to start the conversation for everyone listening to anyone that thinks that pasta is pasta, unlearn that. And
That's a nice way of saying it. Unlearn it.
yeah, and understand that even if Rob and I were having this podcast every single day for 1 week, and every podcast episode was an hour, we still wouldn't cover everything there is to know about pasta.
Exactly. I
That's
don't know
how
everything
deep,
about pasta.
and neither do I. And that's how deep of a conversation pasta goes. And to a lot of people, and I even had this conversation with my neighbor actually, that, every now and again we'll get together for a drink or, pasta. We have this conversation. He's learning so much about the Italian culture and cuisine as well. It's so deep. And so pasta liscia, pasta liscia, pasta rigata, penne, for example.
Could you just explain what the differences are for the
Yeah.
listener?
So liscia is smooth in English. Rigata is ridged. So when you see the ridges on the shorter pasta, most often it's on shorter pasta that you'll see a rigata, which is the ridges, and most often it'll be on something like penne or rigatoni, uh, mezze maniche, which are basically like a rigatoni but shorter, paccheri, paccheroni. Anyways, so many cuts, so many cuts. But the purpose, not even the purpose, the different shapes, and this is why I say it's an extensive conversation. Every shape of pasta lends to the flavor in how it's produced, the ingredients used for its production, so which flour, etc., egg, no egg, etc., and then how it's dried, how long it's dried for, which temperature it's dried at, so many
So many
factors,
different things. So many
yeah,
different
that play
things.
a role. But then also, this almost goes back to day one where I said talking to you is evident that Italians are crazy about these things. Well, why can't I make this pasta with this sauce? No.
No, it doesn't
We
go.
have rules.
You talk about Italians being crazy. It makes me think of a story when I was in Lombard. I studied in Milan. You know that.
Yeah.
I was there during the COVID-19 lockdown in the beginning, and what they were missing on the shelves were yeast. They were missing flour, and they were missing pasta. That's what was
Okay.
going quickly. However, they had the penne lisce. They stayed on the shelf, but
Wow.
nobody wanted to buy them. They left them there. They said, "Not even during a pandemic are they good enough for us to buy. We'd rather starve to death." So that was kind of the
Oh
joke
my
going
God.
around in Italy during that time. And
Yeah,
I know
because
they
it's
kind of get a bad
simple.
rep when it comes to the typical Italians, but a lot of chefs don't agree with that, and they think the pasta with the la pasta liscia, the smooth pasta, has its place.
Well, it's funny you say that because even I've spent so many years with my cousin in Rome, and she was in a beautiful, sadly, she just passed, but she was in a
Oh, I'm
beautiful
sorry.
area. And she, I will tell you, felt the very same way. Allora, quale pasta facciamo stasera? Which pasta are we making tonight? Ovunque, ma le penne lisce assolutamente no. And to her, it was boring. To her, it was cheap. To her, it was not a strong indication of cucina italiana or what it should represent. Whereas, oddly enough, when I was a kid, I did not like the rigate.
Oh, you didn't like it. So you were the opposite.
No,
You preferred
I
the
was the
liscia.
opposite when I was a kid, and I don't know if it's because we always had homemade pasta
That
or
could be part of it.
or I was always spoiled with pasta. But I didn't like the penne rigate. Now, give me the rigatoni rigate. Yes. So and again, it goes back to every shape has a different flavor, is for a different
It
sauce
holds the
pairing.
sauce differently, exactly. And then that also
Yeah.
ties into the extrusion of the pasta through bronze. And
Yes.
I
Yes.
know you know Rusticella d'Abruzzo is a brand that you know very well. And could you tell me a little bit about that in terms of its extrusion, in terms of how it's produced and made?
Yeah. So it's funny because I was going to mention them when I was there not long ago. They have all their pasta extruders there. They're bits and parts and pieces for every cut of pasta that they make. Now, first of all, we look at a pasta place and anyone that's thinking pasta or listening to this right now is probably just thinking, okay, pasta's made in a facility. Rustichella has two facilities, very specifically keeping separate the pasta all'uovo, the egg pasta, and the one that's not made with egg at all. And so, oddly enough, that to me speaks extra high level of care and consideration for what you're making. And so the bronze extruder, going back to that, they were fully maintained, constantly maintained. So it's not just we're putting in a bronze extruder in the machine and we're making beautiful pasta. No, it's all of these additional things that also require care and love into making the finished product. And so I was walking through, saw all those beautiful, massive pieces. And if I can give you a visual, if you think of being at the gym at the one section that I'm never at. Actually, I don't go to the gym at all. I just work at home. But when you lift your big weights, the big like muscle man weights, and it's those big round ones, that's what they look like. So beautiful. Yes. And these things are gorgeous. Like they're so stunning. Even just to not have yet seen pasta and to see those, they're absolutely incredible.
So why do people go crazy for bronze dye pasta as opposed to Teflon? So if you could just explain the way pasta is produced, it gets pushed through the bronze dye, kind of
Yeah,
like a mold, if you will, and then the
exactly what
pasta
it is.
comes out. So why is that better compared to the industrialized Teflon?
Yeah. So Teflon, I don't like, period. Because when we look at Teflon, we look at even something like a Teflon pan. They're
Mhm.
coated, not exactly the greatest. And there's a lot of particles that remove from Teflon, whether we want to believe it or not. Um, and that goes into our food. And I just am not happy about that
And
conversation.
we already have a lot of crap in our food, so we should avoid
Yeah.
it at all
So
cost.
keep it as clean as possible. And so this bronze extruder, what it does, because of the way it's made, because of its material, when the pasta comes through, and so basically it's the mold with the holes, for example, to make every shape of pasta. When it comes through, pasta that's made at the proper temperature, not even dried yet, but made in a proper temperature, proper moisture, etc. And we're not going to get into all the technical stuff today because that's just too scientific for what people want to hear. But when it's coming through, you can see a bit of a rough texture to the pasta. And that rough texture that is in the pasta when it's extruded from the bronze is what gives it that holdability to the sauce that you're
That's a
going
good
to
word.
prepare
I
the
like it.
pasta.
The holdability for the
Yeah. I
sauce.
mean, the word might exist, it might not
It
exist, but
exists now. We're using it.
yeah, exactly. So it gives it the holdability that it needs for a certain sauce because we do this all the time. For example, let's just take any dish and probably the most that we see anywhere on social media now is, let's say, a carbonara, bucatini. I've seen it and I've made it with rigatoni. You're not going to make it with penne. You're not going to make it with other pasta. And so there's a reason for it. And then again, going almost back to the authenticity of things, right?
Mhm.
When you make things that are intended to pair, they're beautiful, they're delicious, they're fabulous, and they're very rewarding in
I
the
like
end.
the word that they use in Italian when foods pair, si sposano bene.
Yeah,
Questo
exactly.
sposa con questo.
Assolutamente. Si
I l
abbina bene, si sposa
Abbina
bene.
bene, like, but they use
That's
the
right.
word a lot of times when I'm trying to explain in English, the word sposare comes to mind, like, they marry each other very
That's right.
well, and
Absolutely.
they get along, if you will,
Yeah,
would be
and
the
it's so beautiful, and it's no different than taking the time to make a beautiful meal and then pairing it with a horrific wine. All of a sudden, you've just destroyed your meal. So, and to people that are unaware or not necessarily as knowledgeable about this, it's fine, but they also don't know that they're missing out on the actual heightened flavors of things when
exactly.
things are made properly.
Ex
And so the extrusion is very important. And then we get to the temperature. So they've got different, we'll call them holding cells, walk in, not necessarily ovens, but walk in warmers where they're at different temperatures for specific pasta and they sit in there for specific amounts of time. So even
to
that,
dry.
yeah, the dryers and certain cuts of pasta will take, oh geez, even more than 30 hours to dry. So,
I mean,
you
slow
know,
dried, I think, is a term that's used too often when it doesn't
yes,
actually mean slow dried. You see certain brands, which I won't name all brands, but certain brands slow
right,
dry, and you read the fine print, it's like 7 to 10 hours. That's not slow.
which
So,
is
so
not even mandate of court according to
exactly,
a lot of pasta.
exactly. So you talk about at least one day, but their pastas dry for one day, 2 days, 3 days,
Yeah.
and that's what you look for. You want to look for the legit at least 1+ days. Better if it's two or three or four, when it comes to the slow dried pasta. Um, but yeah, these are all things that you have to look for when wanting to purchase a quality pasta. Bronze dyed, slow dry, the
Low
little the
temperature.
exactly, so dried at low
Yeah.
temperature, the uh, rugged, la pasta ruvida,
Yeah.
ruvida.
Yeah.
It's rough. What I
Yeah.
can't even
That's
think
right.
in English right now. The roughness of the pasta outside and the color as well is very important as well.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, I tend to, my rule of thumb is the more yellow, stay away.
Yes, stay away from
Because
yellow.
it oddly enough, it almost has this, I don't know if translucent is the right word, but it almost has a semi-translucent
It does.
look to it. And it just doesn't look real.
It
It
doesn't.
really doesn't look
But
real.
we've been conditioned to look for that, or at least from an
Well,
industrialized point of view.
I
We
think
look at,
we've
oh,
been conditioned
yellow
to look
looks
for that because we associate that with the 99-cent pasta. And that's what everybody's looking for because everyone's looking for a quick buck. And then, we talk about, I mean, I don't want to get into nutritional factors, but we look at taking 99-cent pasta. And that to me is part and parcel in a conversation when people say, well, no, I'm gluten intolerant and I can't have pasta. I'm
Mhm.
sorry, who said this to you? Because the people at my table have eaten pasta here and it's rustichella and they do not have problems. And these are people that claim to be gluten intolerant diagnosed.
Right, and
And
of
then,
course, it depends on the level of gluten intolerance because there are people
of
who have it very
course,
severe and have to stay away from a lot of stuff. But it's funny you say that because I've spoken to people who have gluten intolerance and have gone to Italy and
yes,
had pasta, pizza,
they
and
eat
say,
everything.
I feel fine. Obviously, not all the time, but you're quite surprised. Whereas they would eat things here and suffer after. So
Well,
it's
that
just the
lends
quality of the
to
ingredients is totally different.
exactly. That lends to the quality of the ingredients. So it kind of goes back to everything we keep saying is just know what you're buying and be more aware of what you're buying and be aware of what, take a couple of minutes and
Yes.
read the ingredients and kind of see what's going on. And I mean, first of all, if there's an extensive list of ingredients, chances are there's far too many in there and most of it we can't pronounce and that's not something I want in my body. But,
Yeah.
you know, if we talk about good quality ingredients, they're easier to find than we think. And I think, you know, it's not even necessarily a budget thing, because I think across the board, and I'm trying to think as someone in any industry, not just the food industry. Let's even take fashion, for example. There's going to be someone that's going to buy a $50 pair of shoes or a
Hmm.
$35 pair of shoes versus, let's say, a pair that is definitely going to cost more, but they will be leather shoes. They don't have to necessarily be made in Italy, but again,
And
I'm
should
biased,
of course.
leather shoes. And they will last a lot
Right.
longer. They will last. They will fit better. They will take care of you for a lot better. That $50 pair is going to give you back pain. But, so the same goes with food and knowing what you're buying and buying
Especially
quality.
especially
So,
pasta. I
exactly.
just bought 2 extra pounds of pasta yesterday, even though I have a ton in my kitchen. I'm like, I think I'll get more. Why? I don't know, because it's good and I like it.
What's the pasta you got?
From Marche Mancini.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah. They make a fantastic product.
Yes, yes, they do. In fact, I reached out to them. Maybe they'll get back to me. Who knows?
Oh,
But you
amazing.
never know. It would be nice to go visit and see the production. I love looking
Yeah.
at that type of stuff. So I just
Have you
want to
ever
play.
seen a pasta production in Italy?
I actually have not. I have
Oh my
not.
God.
I
I'm
really
telling
want to.
you, I will. Well, first, I'm going to send you the videos of when I was at Rustichela, but then I will forewarn you to hold the tears back. It is one of the most beautiful things to see. I mean, you get it because you've seen olive oil production, you've seen Parmigiano production, you've seen, almost every production under the sun. And so we get emotional by things like that because food to us is a very emotional thing. And it's not just about the food, it's about the story, it's about the tradition, it's about everything. But
Oh, it's
anyway,
totally everything.
back to
Absolutely. Yeah, I know
pasta.
we could exactly. And pasta is a part of that cultural identity of that specific region, many regions in Italy. So I
Of
want to play
course.
devil's advocate with you.
Yeah.
What do you
Oh
say to
boy.
the people who say pasta's carbs, carbs are bad. Let's stay away from carbs.
Okay. So, um, in the nicest unfiltered way I could possibly say this, if pastas, carbs, and carbs are bad, then why are a lot, and not all, but why are a lot, if not most, Italians extremely healthy? And they eat pasta every single day.
So it's
I
about what you put on the pasta as opposed to a low quality bad pasta itself.
Well, I think it's, there's always, remember I said, I'm a very W5H person. I never answer a question without asking more questions and understanding the full story. Why
Depende.
are why are carbs bad? Are you eating crappy carbs? Are you eating McDonald's every day? Are you active? Are you thinking that you're eating less and it's better for you? Like what do you like, tell me something. Give me more
Exactly.
information,
But I
right?
think
So,
as a society, we have demonized carbs.
yeah. And there's
And
nothing
I
wrong
think I'm
with it.
speaking for Canada as well, not just in the
Well,
United States.
no, for sure. Absolutely. I mean, for heaven's sakes, Italians don't just eat pasta. We have pasta, and then there's la scarpetta with the
Oh,
half a
yes.
loaf of bread.
Exactly. How
So,
could we talk about pasta without the scarpetta?
right. So, carb on top of carb. And that's with certain sauces, of course, but we consume carbs constantly. Uh, a lot of our food, we can have that same conversation about fried food. Fried food is bad. Well, you make a heavenly good cotoletta, it's fried. It's how we do
I
things.
just made some cotoletta yesterday. You must have read my
Oh,
mind.
so did I
Oh, did
actually.
you? Look at that.
I
Great minds
did.
think alike. And I had a delicious lunch today. I made a nice sandwich with some broccoli rabe. But anyway,
Ooh.
back to pasta. I almost brought pasta today for lunches. I wasn't sure what I was going to make. It's always something good, I guess. But going back to pasta, it's a sustainable food. If you think about it, it's sustainable. It is low cost. It feeds a lot of people. It's part of cucina povera, poor kitchen or poor
Yep.
cuisine, but I
Yep.
think we renamed as cucina intelligente, smart
Right.
cuisine. Um,
Absolutely.
what are your comments and thoughts about its sustainability, pasta sustainability, given the fact that you visited a pasta production facility and how it's made and its sustainable ways?
It's even taking it off of the commercialized conversation. Pasta is an easy thing to adopt into a sustainable lifestyle. It's versatile, it's repurposable in so many ways, in so many other dishes. I mean, take a simple pasta giorno dopo a pasta corta. I mean, I don't know if I actually like anything more comforting than a pasta al forno. It's
Mm,
the easiest thing to make. It's fantastic. And, even when you asked me last time, what's the one ingredient I would choose if I could only have one, it was pasta.
pasta.
It's the sustainability of it too is when you look at the production from start to finish and you correlate that to consumption, it's almost easy to see how it is a sustainable product because it's very little waste in it. What gets wasted, and I hate to say this because I don't want to throw any brand under the bus, but what gets wasted is that crappy pasta because we end up mass producing it and it ends up being sold by the bin and consumers buy it in heavy quads because it's so inexpensive and they think, okay, well now I'm good. I've got, pasta for months. But that's what's wasted because then we're eating that and we're consuming that. And it almost goes back to the nutritional conversation that we had, carbs are bad. Well, those are the carbs that are bad. But if you're eating well-made quality product and the method to how it's made, so tequila, for example, it's made with a variety of different flours, some of which is made with um, like antique grains, old ancient grains, not antique grains, ancient grains. And so we look at the health factor of that, especially when they're stone ground, because they're less refined and less refined and less refined. And so,
What do you mean by ancient grains for our listeners?
yeah, so ancient grains would be raw grains. Um,
I know sometimes you think of
there's
the terms
one,
in it. Sometimes you
yeah,
think of the terms in Italian, you're at like a brain fart. I
and
know.
there's one that is escaping me so terribly right now. But
They're
when we
ones
look
that
at
are
flour,
minimally changed in terms of
yeah,
breeding. Like
well,
they are the
exactly.
original, the OGs, if you will.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying by less refined and stone
They're
ground.
more
Like
rustic.
exactly, more rustic. And the more not even artisanal, but the very, very old, old, old. And so the originals, if you will. Um, Not so much of what we see in the whiter flours. And so when we look at how things are made, pasta, so how pasta is made, and we look at even the step before that in terms of how the wheat is handled, when it's harvested, how it's kept and maintained to make the production of pasta, whether it is made for 70 countries around the world, like Rustiquila, or made by hand and hand milled or freshly milled, still warm for the in the moment pasta making, the way you would have at, let's say, an agriturismo or even at home. Mind you, I don't have a mill, but still, that all plays a massive role into the sustainability of certain pasta. And so to me, it kind of all goes full circle with if you know what you're buying and you're buying the better artisanal brands, if you will, that take very good conscious care of making high quality product and knowing how to make it, not just we're going to make a really good flour or use a really good flour so we can label that on the package, but then do everything else the wrong way, then that plays into the sustainability.
It does. And then people's counter reaction would be, Well, I not everybody could afford a pasta artigianale, an artisanal pasta. And then I go back and say, yes, that could be true, but ask yourself, how much of it are you actually eating? Are you making the entire pound and eating it yourself? Are you eating a half a pound? What are you how much of it are you eating? How much of it are you wasting? Because I believe that food is something that we should, if we can, of course, and if we have the means and the availability, we should be spending money on food that is good for our bodies, especially us living in countries where sometimes it's not the we don't have the easiest times finding good quality foods because everything is so mass produced and industrialized. So like same thing goes with olive oil, same thing goes with cheese, same thing goes with really anything that we eat. So the question is like, okay, yes, yesterday I did spend, I think it was like $5 a pound on pasta. I could have gotten a different brand and spent like $2, but the quality is totally different. But then again, I don't eat the entire pound myself.
Well, that's the thing. And you're absolutely right. People again, not everybody, but there's a lot of people that don't understand the apple to apple comparison type of buying and consuming. And so, when we say pound for pound, well, you can have a 250-gram package of pasta that is that very poorly made pasta, and you can have a 250-gram package of pasta. Well, typically, what's recommended in most recipes is a 100-gram portion of pasta per person. Well, I can tell you, if you're using and making and consuming an artisanal brand, a really good product, then even 65, 70 grams per person.
I do about 80 for myself.
Okay, so there you go. And I will tell you, because you don't feel full, because it's well made and you're eating healthier than you are if you're consuming 200 grams of that crappy quality pasta. So going into the I can't afford it, well, now let's do that breakdown of apple to apple comparison and say, okay, well, what is affordability for you? Is affordability being able to pay $5 for pasta, but then you're also going to the freezer section and buying a whole bunch of fake stuff and chips and everything else? Because at that point, you can afford it, you're choosing not to, and you're choosing to make the conversation about something that you don't want to talk about.
Right. Exactly. Because I'm just thinking right off the bat, you know, a lot of times people they can't afford things, but then they go to fast food places because they appear to be quote unquote cheaper. But if we think about, let's just say, a $5 or $6 bag of pastas by us a pound, but normally in Italy it goes by 500 grams, which could feed easily a family of five. You make it very simple. So that $5 bag of pasta feeds a family of five, and you can make it simple with two tomatoes and a little olive oil. And that entire cost to feed a family of five is what? $8, less than $10 total. And you
Exactly.
just, which comes out to be
Healthier.
exactly, exactly,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And your body rewards you so much more. We don't, I think there's, and this sort of carries over into the medical industry and the health and nutrition industry and everything else. I think everything goes back to keep it simple, keep it real, keep it authentic, and that means real ingredients, authentic food, nothing processed, and you end up having less and feeling better, and you don't feel like you're not eating enough food.
Exactly. It keeps you full. I mean, good quality pasta made well keeps you full for a while.
Of course
Um,
it does.
I wanted to ask you if it's the same in Canada or not. Here, we have the tendency when you go out to dinner to, if you were to order, not in authentic Italian restaurants, generally speaking, however, if you were to order a dish of pasta, the waiter or waitress says, would you like to add a protein to that? That's a very typical, first of all, it's a red flag that you're not in a real Italian restaurant if we want to talk about authentic or not authentic. But here it's always, would you like to add a protein to that dish?
Yeah, so I honestly have never experienced that because I don't go to those places, but and now that you said that, I didn't even realize that that existed.
Uh, Sorry to ruin your
But
day.
I mean, um No,
Not to say that
no,
protein's bad. I love protein. I love
no,
meat. I
no,
love a nice piece of steak.
no.
Maybe I'll make some tonight. But
Okay,
like,
but
you
yeah,
can't just be. You just add it. Like,
no. First of all, mm, fucking no. It's just like putting meatballs on the spaghetti and serving it that way, and those are the people I can't respond to. It just no. It takes me either another glass of wine or another espresso before I can calmly respond.
well, the
It just
meatballs on the
doesn't.
spaghetti, unless they're little polpettine piccole.
No, pallottine in
Beh,
Abruzzo.
pallottine, scusa,
Ah,
pallottine,
okay.
pallotti hai
But it's your
ragione.
fault. You guys down there south of my border that did all that.
Molise? Molise you're talking about?
No, I'm talking USA.
Ah, okay, okay. I was talking you said Abruzzo, then south of the border. Okay.
Yeah, no,
Yes,
south
United
of
States,
my
exact
border.
okay. Oh, south of the Canadian border. Okay, yes, makes sense. Yeah, unfortunately, we did that. Italian American cuisine is a totally different cuisine to be respected in itself, totally different identity, and I think we talked about this before. But going back to pasta, I wanted to ask you, what are
Yeah.
people make pasta a lot of times we have leftovers, we eat it the next day. When it comes to leftover pasta, what are the top 3 things that you make the day after that people could make
Ooh.
tomorrow?
Well, I mean, geez, c'è la frittata. You can always, as simple as it is, just reheat it and have the same thing without repurposing the dish. But you could definitely make it into a frittata. You can make it al forno, if you will, very simply. Just add some other stuff, put it in the oven, and there you go. Um,
What about just simply reheating it in a
yeah, yeah,
pan?
yeah,
In
yeah.
a pan with some olive oil?
Yeah, that's what we said. So you can reheat it and have it the same way, no problem, without inventing anything. Yeah. Um, what are some other things I do with leftover pasta? Sometimes it depends. If I don't have it seasoned or dressed or sauced, then I can just make a different sauce with it. But yeah, I mean, I'm not much of a leftover person. I
All I heard was I'm not a leftover person.
Yeah, I didn't have a third option because I don't really have a leftover, like, because I'm not a leftover person.
Okay. Let's say you prefer to make what's supposed to be eaten that night and that's it,
Yeah, I
which
mean,
is
it
what I
depends on who
typically
I'm
do as
cooking
well.
for. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Absolutely. So speaking of cooking, you host a lot of dinners. You have your home trattoria. What are some unusual dishes or creative dishes that you like to make with pasta? Since we
Um,
are indeed celebrating World Pasta Day today.
World Pasta Day this Friday. Oh my gosh. And it's a double for me because it's Rustichela's 100th anniversary this year. So it's
Wow.
amazing. Yeah.
Auguri.
And
Tanti
they're,
auguri.
yeah, yeah. Thank you. I'll pass that along. They're actually here in Toronto. We have an event on Friday. So that's going to be exciting.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So, uh,
Some dishes you've created.
dishes that I make, yes. It depends because, I like to get information from my clients and guests that come. Sometimes it really and the day of the week makes a difference as well. I mean, sometimes I'll make something that takes me a little bit longer because A, I have the time, B, I'm feeling, inspired, or I have the ingredients, or maybe I was at the market and I had seen something that I really love. For me, my menu is really an in the moment thing.
Mhm.
And I've spoken with so many chefs about this, and they think I'm crazy for doing it. And they wonder why I don't organize myself in a different way. But for me, that is extremely organized because I wake up, I go shopping the Italian way, independent shopping every single day or every 2 days. And it's what I see in that moment that inspires me to make a dish. And that's when I say to myself, oh, okay, well, I'm going to take them to Abruzzo, or I'm going to take them to Molise, or I'll take them to Valdosta, or whatever, with whatever I'm making because of what I see. So it really just depends on the day and a few other factors, the weather and everything else,
Right.
or
The
how crazy the
seasonality as
elements
well.
are. Yeah, everything, right?
Right. What you could
So
find. Absolutely.
absolutely. Yeah. So to say that I get creative, my creativity in the kitchen comes from a lot of different elements.
Mhm.
Yeah.
How you feel, what you find, what type of
Yeah.
day it is. If it's a full moon,
Yeah.
if it's a half moon.
Oh, hell yeah. Absolutely. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah, for
And
sure.
then if you make something
And
so good, even the squirrels come in and eat at times, right?
oh my God, yes.
I
It's
saw
so
you. I saw you
crazy.
posted that one video of the squirrel running inside the house.
Oh my God, it
That's
was
because you
insane.
smelled what you were cooking. That's why.
It was so nuts. And I did. I had food on the stove that day too. It was so crazy.
Was
So
it
yeah,
pasta?
it was.
There we go. It all comes back to pasta.
It was.
Let me ask you one
It
last
was.
thing. What is one pasta related myth that you'd like to bust right now?
One pasta related myth. Oh my gosh. Well, uh, I mean, so many, but one is that not all pasta is the same.
It's not.
Because to me, that's probably the most important one because everyone seems to assume that pasta is pasta. And that's why we have so many rules around it, which pasta goes with which sauce, and then honoring how it's made, if it's made with egg, without egg, which flour to use, just so many different things.
Right.
Because it all goes back to regional cooking, regional cuisine, regional everything. And get creative, get innovative, but don't, I'll just, for a lack of a better term, and I'll say this because I've heard so many Italians say it, and to me it doesn't sound insulting, I guess, because I agree with it, but don't insult Italians by saying pasta is just pasta or all
Exactly.
pasta is the same.
Exactly. I've
It's not.
seen I've seen and heard, you're sitting in a restaurant and you order a pasta like or you order a dish. They're like, "Oh, what type of pasta would you like? We could put any type with that sauce." Like just
No.
mix and matching and it's like, "I'll take
No.
that," and then after they're like, "Would you like that a protein? I'll take a little bit of that as well." So it's very,
Oh my
very
God.
personalizzabile, you know? Oh yeah,
Yeah,
there are
I
some
don't.
interesting things
Yeah.
that they do out there, you know? I guess who am I to judge?
Yeah, no, I know because I would rather, it almost goes back to your protein on pasta when you're asked at the restaurant. I would at that point, if you're going to go out for Italian, I would hope, and I really do hope, and if this is not how people have been going out to dine, I would like for them to change this. Is remember that experience is everything. And so when you feel like going out for Italian, and that's any cuisine, by the way, it's not just Italian. When I go out for Lebanese or Middle Eastern cuisine, I want to go where there's an element of a nonna somewhere.
Right.
And in any cultured cuisine, I do the same thing because for me, food is an experience.
Mhm.
Otherwise, just taking money out of your wallet, and you may as well go to some conveyor belt system that produces food. And so, why would you want to do that? If we seem to already be living in a world where we're stuck for time, we're complaining that we don't have enough of it, why the hell are you wasting your time by eating crappy food and going to these kind of places?
Couldn't agree
But
with
if
you
you,
more.
yeah, but if you feel that you can't, for whatever reason, affordability, etc., or time or anything else, go to those places, or because maybe you just don't know where they are, then you want to go to those generic places that are going to offer protein on pasta, then take the time to enjoy yourself and immerse yourself in an experience. Have a little antipasto, even if it's one to share among the two of you. Have pasta. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with sharing a portion of pasta with two people so that maybe you can have the protein after,
Yes,
in a
agree.
different dish, but don't add chicken to your fucking carbonara or something else. Like, just please don't do that.
Yes, I agree with you. Absolutely.
It's just anything, really, anything.
Yes.
But yeah, life is about experience, and pasta is one of the greatest experiences that we can offer anyone at the table.
Mhm.
And I posted a picture of my little mamina. Actually, it was a reel. She made the pasta. I put her to work the other day on when I
Oh,
went
I
to go
saw
see.
that.
Yeah,
Very
and
nice.
it's I couldn't believe how much joy it brought her to do that. And I was speaking with her the whole time. I just had put music over it. But, in asking her all these questions and everything else, and I even said, I go, Ma, when people ask me for the recipe, I keep trying to explain that you can't give a recipe. She goes, no, no, no. da vide come si fanno le cose, se ne vide ne può fare. Like you have to see how they're made. And if you don't see them, you're not going to make them the same way. And I
Hmm.
totally believe that. And now you can make a dish, you can make anything, but it's part of the experience. And for me, even at my age, at 49, watching her almost at 91 next month, making that pasta, as much as I've appreciated it for 49 years, I appreciate it so much more now.
Hmm.
And so for me, the art of making pasta by hand is even more of a special experience.
It
And
is.
so I again say go to the experience side of things. There's artificial intelligence. There's so much digital technology in this world.
Hmm.
Funk from everything and just
Get your hands dirty.
experience. Yes, just experience stuff. And then not for anything, but even if you don't want to buy pasta and you want to make it at home, I mean, what better way to get the kids involved, your partner involved, or anyone else than that right there is a beautiful night
And that's
in
and that's also part of the Mediterranean diet,
that,
convivialità,
yeah,
you know?
convivialità,
Yes,
and
conviviality.
exactly. And, so we talk about Italian, and I think a lot of people just think, oh, I feel like having Italian tonight. But what a lot of people don't realize is that having Italian is so much more than just having an Italian meal.
Hmm.
It's having an Italian experience, it's
Hmm.
being part of the culture, it's being part
Right,
of the lifestyle.
right.
And I know we say it and we think, it sounds
Everybody's
silly.
involved in the kitchen.
That's
Who's
right.
making the little sugo? Who's, I don't know, grating the cheese for when it's, who's doing this, who's pouring the wine, who's making something else, who's everybody is
Absolutely.
involved in the kitchen. And that's how it should be. And it's fun, at least from my point of view. It's fun. I have
Oh
fun
my
doing it
God,
like
it's
that.
absolutely fun. It makes the evening or the time go by so well. And I mean, that's what we do for 5 hours at the table,
Hmm.
It's just you're just enjoying life.
Yes,
And I don't know. So pasta for me is a very significant way of doing that, not because it's just pasta, because it's not at all just pasta.
exactly. It's actually the total opposite. So how are you going to be celebrating World Pasta Day?
Well, 25th during the day, I'm going to be making a dish because this week I'm making a different dish every day. So once I'm done with you, I'm going to be making, and I've got the box right over there of paccherini, zucca, and mango. So we
Mm.
talked about rustichella infusing ingredients into their pasta, real ingredients, not just flavors. And so I'm going to be making that. I'm going to roast some squash and I'm going to make a beautiful paccherini zucca with squash and thyme, and we'll see if I have some gorgonzola in the fridge. Otherwise,
Che
I'll use a
buono.
different cheese that works well.
Buonissimo.
And I'm going to be dropping that recipe.
Ma
So,
buonissimo. I can't wait to see that on
oh yeah.
Instagram. If I were closer, I'd swing by with or without your permission.
Hey, you don't need my permission. Porta aperta.
Porta
Porta
aperta.
aperta. That's it.
Come per lo scoiattolo che è entrato.
Yeah. So that's what I'm doing. So Friday,
Awesome.
someone's going to be making pasta for me.
Nice.
That's what
So
I'm
good.
celebrating.
So good. I
And how
think
are you
I
celebrating
think
World Pasta Day?
I don't know. The way I like to enjoy pasta. I like to make a
Mm.
little cremina with a vegetable. Let's just say
Ooh,
like a zucchini or
nice.
anything in season. But I do have some zucchini, believe it or not, in my fridge
Oh,
that
nice.
I want to use. So I'll cook it up in a pan, and then I'll mix it all together. I have the hand mixer, some Parmigiano Reggiano, some extra virgin olive oil, and then I'll eat it with the pasta. I don't know what type I'm gonna have, to be
Do
honest with
you
you.
have
I like it so
any
simple.
pancetta or guanciale?
No, but now that you said that, I should go get some because that sounds
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, zucchine, guanciale, or pancetta even. It's so
Pancetta, yes, I could get
fantastic.
the
Yeah, yeah,
pancetta.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, I think that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah,
That's definitely what I'm gonna do.
yeah,
Awesome,
yeah, yeah. It's amazing with the zucchini for sure.
delicious. But wow,
Yay! Oh my gosh.
happy World Pasta Day.
Oh my gosh.
Come si dice in
I
italiano?
encourage,
Buona giornata mondiale della pasta.
yes,
Something to be celebrated.
I encourage everyone to make pasta that day.
Absolutely. Well, we'll be posting on social media reminding people to do that.
Yeah. I've had a few people actually ask if we're going to be doing something like a live because um they seem to like us chatting together and they seem to like our conversations, and they've recommended that we do some more stuff together in addition to podcasts.
Absolutely. Yes. We're going to do a live. I think the answer is yes. And I don't know. I
Cool.
was thinking maybe during the week of Italian cuisine. What do you think?
I think that's a perfect opportunity.
We do a live on
Yeah.
Instagram and we do, what do you say, like bruschettina or some simple recipe to
Yeah, for
prepare.
sure. I'd say they can go grab their wine and we'll actually that's great because we can share with them certain things to look for when they're buying wine as well. And they can do a nice little antipasto with a little bruschettina or something for sure. And we can share with them what to look for when they're buying a nice parmigiano. That'll go nicely with the
I like that.
antipasto and the vino, and then we can absolutely do that. And then, going into the craziness of Italians celebrating everything like World Pasta Day and National Pasta Day.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
now there's also Settimana della Cucina Italiana, which is Italian Cuisine Week. And
Yes.
it's in November from the 16th to the 25th. So yeah, we just
Right.
we're
Yeah, we'll be celebrating that. That's for sure.
yeah.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
mean, I don't see why we shouldn't start now.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, I feel like dinner every day is settimana della
We
cucina
do,
italiana.
exactly. Well, that's the beauty of us, right? Like it's such a woven part of our being that I don't know about you, but even when I'm cooking for one, and I know so many people that feel it a drag, like, oh crap, I gotta cook for just myself. I love it. Like just being in the kitchen, I love it.
Yeah, I have fun. I like to do it. I have no
Yeah.
problem. The best part is to sit down and eat. That's my favorite part.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Once you do all the work. And then the cleaning up obviously is not the fun part, but it has to be done.
But it is because now you feel that you've rewarded
I
yourself with
guess
a beautiful experience,
bicchiere
right?
mezzo pieno, you're right. Bicchiere mezzo
Yeah,
pieno.
there you
Glass
go.
half full, you're right about that. Daniela, thank you so much for this conversation about World Pasta Day. And I hope everybody goes out there and celebrates World Pasta Day, makes something. And if you end up making something, don't forget to tag on Instagram, Stop Italian Sounding, and also Daniele Sfara. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the stories of authentic Italian cuisine. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast for more insights and interviews. Also, feel free to reach out with your thoughts or questions on our social media channels at Stop Italian Sounding or on our website, stopitasounding.com. Grazie a tutti e alla prossima.
Sentire Media.
Hey, podcast producers and show hosts. Do you want to join a podcast network that celebrates all things Italian? At Sentire Media, we understand the allure of Italy and its unique culture. Our devoted team of hosts and producers are all driven by their shared passion for Italy. And we work tirelessly to create the best lifestyle podcasts and content that will whisk you away to the very heart of Italy. With us, you can savor the mouth-watering flavors, get lost in the stories from the past, break down the cultural barriers, and truly immerse yourself in the vibrant traditions of this intoxicating country. If you have a great podcast idea or are already in production and would like to join Sentire Media, head over to sentiremedia.com, that's SENTIRE media.com, and find out how to submit your show.